I'm 26, I have no dating experience, and I'm like, shit, this is not gonna fix itself. I need to do something about it, and it needs to be quite drastic. First, I thought that if I walk up to a girl randomly on the street, I'm kind of bothering her in some way. Like, why would she want just like a random guy to come talk to her? Which is actually exactly the opposite of that. Most girls are actually super happy that you come up to talk to them, even if they have a boyfriend. I felt proud because it was basically the first number that I got by myself, that Gus was not directly helping me in some way. And I felt so excited. I basically had to walk up and down in the neighborhood for 1 hour. And it's really like a feeling that you remember like for the rest of your life. I mean, I guess for me it's a bit later in life than it is for most other people, but I really think this is something that every single person should experience. It's really something you have to work towards to. It's difficult in the beginning, but once you get there, it's something you cannot, replicate by any other means, I would say.
Welcome, Alex. Thanks for doing this video. So, for people that don't know you, you want to quickly introduce yourself, your background, whatever you want to share.
So my name is Alex, I'm 26, and I work as a scientist in Switzerland. I'm originally from Bulgaria, but yeah, since 5 years I live in Switzerland. I work in a laboratory. It's quite like an introverted setting, let's say, and this is what I am also as a person. When I started to work with Gus, I had very little dating experience. I would say basically zero dating experience. And he really helped me out quite a lot.
Obviously, then for you, you're coming from quite an introverted background. What made you even think, okay, shit, I actually need to work on this or do something in this area?
So for me, I always assumed this type of things, they kind of iron out by themselves. I kind of realized I have this problem ever since I'm 18, but I always assumed, I can just kind of procrastinate this a little bit and just keep living my life, and things are just gonna fix themselves, basically. But then I develop myself in other areas in life, but this area stays completely constant, which is basically at zero. And at some point, I'm 26, I have no dating experience, and I'm like, shit, this is not gonna fix itself. I need to do something about it, and it needs to be quite drastic.
Yeah, so even you told me that the decision to work with me was quite improvised, like you just saw me randomly on YouTube and then you booked a call and then you went in. How did that decision happen? And yeah, describe the first session that we had where you basically, I thought you're close to sort of giving up, right? Because like you were walking around and you told me that it seems like, yeah, like I'm exposed, like I'm undressing my pants in front of the people. Like it was very, very difficult. So yeah, talk me through like those beginnings.
So the beginning's obviously very difficult. So first of all, why I signed up with you, I did like a doctorate in Switzerland, and at some point I was done with it, and I was like, okay, I cannot procrastinate this anymore. I need to do something about it. But then I had no idea where to start. My friends, I don't think were giving me very good advice either. I was like, okay, should I do dating apps? Well, what should I do? And I was lucky, Gus kind of appeared in the recommended videos on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, I should do something drastic. I should go for it. I signed up with him, not having so much of an idea beforehand. So like to kind of throw myself in the deep a little bit. And the first session, he didn't ask so much from me. He's like, go to like basically a busy area of the city, and just like first I had to do warm-ups just for asking for directions, which obviously it's not so difficult, but then to just go up to a random girl and give her a compliment. And this for me, it's a bit embarrassing to say, but it was still very difficult to do in the very first session. By now it sounds a bit ridiculous, but I really struggled, and for 1 hour I was just going up and down, and he was also a bit confused, like, I think, like, that's why he probably says, yeah, like, I don't know, this guy, he gives up. Because then I was complaining, like, I feel like I'm completely naked walking around the street, just being like this weird person, that just walks up to people and says random shit.
Yeah.
And like, I think at that point I was just like taking myself a bit too seriously, let's say. But I mean, now looking back, it's completely ridiculous. You don't need a, a reason to walk up to someone and say something. It can be completely natural, you know.
So yeah, that was like obviously quite difficult, but then slowly you started to improve, and you started to have some conversations, and then you ended up getting some numbers, and then you even managed to get your first date ever, right?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
you told me that the feeling of getting that first date, it was, you said that you've worked 4 years to accomplish what you had accomplished in your career, and getting that first date, it felt sort of like that, because that wasn't even easy. Like, you had to work for it. Like, the girl was sort of messaging back and forth. So how was the call experience, and then how was the feeling afterwards?
So yeah, I would say really for me this was one of the most exhilarating like experiences. It's so by now I work with Gus a few months by now. Yeah, I've gotten a few numbers, but not every number translates into a date. But this one in specific, I felt proud because it was basically the first number that I got by myself, that Gus was not directly helping me in some way. And I felt so excited. I basically had to walk up and down in the neighborhood for 1 hour. And it's really like a feeling that you remember like for the rest of your life. I mean, I guess for me it's a bit later in life than it is for most other people, but I really think this is something that every single person should experience. It's really something you have to work towards to. It's difficult in the beginning, but once you get there, it's something you cannot, replicate by uh, by any other means, I would say. It's almost as good as when I did my doctoral defense. To get a doctorate, you need, yeah, I mean, depends for everyone, but yeah, usually 3 to 4 years, and you work like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a similar amount of happiness. But like as Gus likes to say, it's just biology, right? It's built into us. We can keep denying it to ourselves, but we are supposed to do this as guys, I guess.
Not only it was difficult for the whole journey of pushing yourself outside the comfort zone, but there was a lot of resistance where you thought, okay, I don't know if this should be like this, or isn't this supposed to be natural? Isn't this supposed to be easier? There was a lot of like mental inner resistance you had to overcome. Maybe talk a bit about that, and kind of like facing your expectations of how reality should be versus how the reality actually is.
So I would say there were two things, like two thoughts that I had that were completely wrong before I started all this. First, I thought that if I walk up to a girl randomly on the street, I'm kind of bothering her in some way. Like, why would she want just like a random guy to come talk to her? Which is actually exactly the opposite of that. Most girls are actually super happy that you come up to talk to them. Even if they have a boyfriend, they really like a guy confidently come up to them and give them a compliment, if nothing else. So even if nothing happens, it's still an enjoyable experience, I guess, both for you and for the girl. I would say this is one of the limiting beliefs that I had. And the second one was, uh, I guess, maybe kind of manipulated by movies and things like this. I kind of just expected it that at some point it just becomes easy and natural quite fast. But it really was not like this. It does become natural, it does become easy, but you really have to work for it. It's not a movie where you're nervous, you collect your courage, and you go to talk up to a girl. It doesn't really work like this. It's really something you have to learn, like anything else in life. But at some point it clicks and it's easy, and you feel there's nothing wrong doing it, and you actually enjoy doing it.
Let's talk about actually the whole working experience working together. So how did you find it? Obviously, the first 3 months we were working remotely, so I was on the call with you and you were approaching people. How did you find the whole experience working remotely?
So I think it's really quite similar to work remotely and to work in person. The way it works is you have your earbuds on, and then Gus is just kind of on call, like
And you're showing the camera, right?
on voice chat. Yeah, and you have your phone out, like you're just holding it, and you just take a video of your surroundings, kind of. So basically, he can listen in to basically what you're saying, and when you talk to someone, what they're saying. usually. So like in the beginning it was also a bit nervous for me. Do people notice that I do this? Because it seems a bit strange at first, but it's as if basically you're listening to music, which and most people have earbuds when they're just walking around, so there's no problem with this. Otherwise, I would say for me, it was very, very useful to have someone, because in the beginning it's very difficult to push yourself. At least for me, I had this really fear that seems like it comes from nowhere in the beginning, and you have a lot of these negative thoughts that just also pop into your mind. So it's very useful to have someone to kind of to tell you like how to defeat these negative thoughts and to motivate you to get over this kind of hump in the beginning until it gets easier. And for this, Gus was extremely helpful for me.
What do you found the most helpful out of everything that we did? Was it more like on the calls that was the most helpful? Was it when we were texting and you were asking me what to do with text?
For me, I would say everything was quite useful, but just because I had like zero experience, so I have a
Yeah.
lot of questions when it relates to everything.
Yeah.
I would say the most important part is the approach anxiety, because it's very difficult to just walk up to a stranger and say hi in the beginning. With the texts, it's also very useful, but it really depends on the person and what kind of experiences you have and so on. But Gus is able to help you with basically anything. It's kind of like you have a friend that has a lot of experience and you can just ask them anything. And there's no judgment, there's no nothing. It's just someone to help you with whatever questions that you may have. It's not only for these sessions where you go out and you approach people. It's kind of for everything when it comes to dating. And not even only for dating, it's kind of the whole mentality of things in general, I would say.
It's been 3 months. How would you describe then now as a person, how have you changed? I mean, obviously there's some beliefs that have changed, there's some behaviors that have changed, maybe also the outlook on life. Like, what are some of the biggest changes that's Alex 3 months ago and Alex now?
I would say the biggest thing that has changed for me is kind of my whole attitude. I used to think it's such a big deal to go up to a girl and talk to her and flirt with her. And when you think it's such a big deal, like you get very nervous, and it's always awkward, and the girl feels it and it never works. But it's really not a big deal. It's a very, very natural thing. And I would say that's the biggest thing that has changed for me. And then obviously once that happens, you start to get more success, you get numbers, you get dates, and then you kind of get the results and the enjoyment out of the whole thing. But for me as a person, I would say the biggest change is just my mentality and my attitude.
You seem happier too. I would say
Yeah.
you seem happier
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Like
I
more
would-
relaxed. So
I would say so. I would
Cool.
say so. That's
Cool.
true. Yeah.
all right. So we did 3 months. We got really good results, and you wanted to keep going. So now you actually decided to come to Barcelona to see me in person. Describe the decision to do that, and how has it been, just for the viewers. So he came on Friday. So we did a few hours on Friday, a few hours on Saturday, and a little bit on Sunday morning. We're filming this on Sunday morning. So how has it been to also see this now in real life? And yeah, the whole experience.
Yeah, so for me, as Gus said, we were doing 3 months over the phone, online, via Zoom or whatever. But I thought, okay, I need to, because I got quite invested into this. So I was like, yeah, it makes sense to also meet him in real life. I would say it was definitely worth it to come here. We did, the last 2 days, we did 2-3 hour sessions. It's quite intense. You feel like you've ran 20 kilometers afterwards. But I can definitely tell there is a difference from when I was here on Friday to now on Sunday. So this stuff really works, guys. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I would also kind of say, I mean, obviously it was good, but it was also important that you did the 3 months before on your own, because I think like a lot of people, what they do is they've never done anything. And we talked about this yesterday as well. What if you had come the 3 days if you hadn't done anything? I don't think it would have been as good as you doing a lot of it, pushing yourself, and now you come and just, it's kind of like you already have the base, and now it's just we're letting the fire go rather than the first time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, because I had already some base, it wasn't like impossible for me to like approach a girl, let's say, even on the first day. So
Because of
uh,
the 3 months base,
because
right?
of the 3 months.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning it's quite important also to use some time to think about these things, to, as I say, also adjust your attitude, and to get over like some of the basic fears. Uh, but once you do that, you can really start pushing yourself, and yeah, and then you start to get results quickly, I would say.
Also, interesting thing you mentioned was that you'd see me on YouTube, and then I would show you here in real life, and you're like, oh shit, like you speak very loud, or like the first time you met you speak very
Yeah.
loud.
He's also a very big guy. I was like 2 meters tall. I don't
No,
know.
no, 193. Now a lot of guys are gonna be watching. Oh, it's because he's tall, or a friend said to you like, oh, it's because of your chin or something.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. I think this type of stuff. Like, no one really cares of that much. Like, I
Yeah.
think.
So how was it kind of also seeing me, because you said, oh, like I don't know, approaching a group, right? And then I approached a group, or I don't know, approaching a girl in the mall. I was like, okay, let me show you approaching the mall, and then you're like, oh, like this is actually quite normal, right? So how was those experiences seeing it in real life?
I mean, I think the mind does these ridiculous tricks. Like, for example, had this fear if you're crossing a street light, you're waiting for it to turn green, and then you see a girl on the other side of the street that's crossing in your direction, but you're headed in the opposite direction. I was like, I cannot approach her because obviously I'm going in the opposite direction. But then you can just wait and still do it. I just think like your mind just plays some ridiculous tricks, but when you see someone do it in real life, you realize it's like a ridiculous thing that your mind does. There is nothing wrong with approaching anyone in almost any setting. It doesn't matter if it's a group, if it's in a supermarket, if it's in a like a clothes shop or whatever it is. It's almost the same at the end of the day. But it definitely helps to see it in real life, to get some evidence, I would say.
And then I guess my final question, let's say someone is watching that is in a similar position that you were a few months ago, so no dating experience, technical, introverted, has maybe worked entire life, and they think, oh, like it's not for me. I'm just too introverted to do this in real life. I cannot imagine myself doing this. For me, it wouldn't work. Or, yeah, just what would be your advice to those people?
I mean, I would say the thing that changed for me and that kind of prevented me from taking action for so long is I expected this to be different from working towards anything else in life. Like, let's say uh, you attend a lecture and you have to study for the exam. It's still, you need to put in the work to get the success, right? And I expected it to be different when it comes to dating, but it's the exact same thing. Obviously, there you're not sitting down to study lecture notes and PowerPoints and so on. You have to go out and talk to people, but it's the exact same process. You go out, you practice, and once you learn enough, you get success. If you're like me and there's no success so far, there's no easy way out of this. You have to go out, you have to practice, and that's the only way that you can succeed, I think.
Because there's also like a lot of shame, right, around this, what we talked about yesterday. Because if you get a fitness coach, it's like, oh, well, you work on your fitness, oh, it's fine. Like, you need to get in better shape. But if people are sort of expected, as you told me, that to be good at dating, and they have a shame to admit that maybe they need to improve in this area, right? I guess that's what also makes it difficult.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess there's a stigma. There's a stigma around it, but hey, I mean, you have one life, and it's. I would say there's nothing shameful if you cannot do something which is so natural to human beings in general, to get help from someone who can do it to teach you. There's really nothing wrong with it, and I think you would really regret not having this help and not learning this in general, I would say. So yeah, I don't think there's anything shameful to it.
Do you think you could have done this on your own? What would happen if you had tried to do this on your own?
I mean, I think in theory anyone can learn anything on their own, but it's very, very difficult to push yourself, especially for something like this. It's very difficult also emotionally. Like, I mean, I made this comparison to an exam before. It's not like you're just studying some factual things and then you're reproducing them. There is a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of emotions. So it's really, really useful to have someone by your side, kind of supporting you and pushing you to succeed. because it does work eventually. There is resistance in the beginning, but it does work. So I would say for me, I'm not sure I would have been able to do it by myself, to be honest. I would have experienced all this resistance in the beginning and said, yeah, I'll try something, I'll try in a different way.
Not
this
for
is,
me. Or,
This is, not for me or something like this.
Mm.
But when you have someone that like shows you consistently proof, this works, you just have to keep pushing, just don't give up. And then
And I guess like it's a lot of it is countering your own negative like self-talk, right? Because you have this self-talk. Your mind was telling you a lot of bullshit, so I had this like, okay, needed to kind of address that as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but by a certain point, you should be able to do it completely by yourself. The negative self-talk, it decreases, and I guess it also disappears after a certain time. But in the beginning, yeah, I would say it's definitely helpful to have someone to support you.
And I suppose also, like when we did the group calls and you met other people, like you saw other people doing it, you came and you met some of the people and you were chatting to some people. I guess that also helps. It's not only you and me, but there's also other people like you. They're trying to do the same thing, going through the same struggles. I guess that was also kind of helpful for you. I remember you texted me.
Yeah, I mean, this also kind of normalizes in a way, right? You see, it's not only just me. There's other people struggling with this. There's other people doing the same thing. And it also becomes kind of like a community. When you gain a success, you can say, I did this, and you have someone to share it with, and you don't feel like you're completely alone on this. It's like, I don't know, like when you go on a trip, let's say, and something happens, you want to have someone to share it with. It's like a normal thing to do. And when you have a coach or when you're in this kind of community, you have all these people. It's like kind of a support group, I guess, but I'm not sure exactly how to define it.
Cool, man. Awesome, Alex. Well, thanks a lot for doing the video. Thanks a lot for sharing your story. Also, thanks a lot for coming to Barcelona. It was super nice meeting in person. We keep working. You've come a long way, but there's obviously a lot of progress to be made still. So yeah, I'm excited to sort of see. I mean, even seeing you the first session when you couldn't even give a compliment, and to doing it now, you just seem much more relaxed. You seem honestly like a different person, and I think that's one of the joys for me to also do this is I get to see people's actually transformation, both in terms of their mind and their behavior and everything. So thanks a lot, and let's keep going.